Hey guys, we are at the Gamescom and here we got the chance to take a look at very cool games and talk to very cool people. And one of those cool people is my next guest. And we talk about Payday 3, but before we talk about it, I want you to introduce yourself.
My name is Andreas and I'm the lead producer of Payday 3.
All right, before we talk about Payday 3, we mentioned earlier that Payday 2 is almost released like 10 years from now. What was the reason you said, okay, we are finishing Payday 2 and now switching to Payday 3?
I'm gonna say it's primarily based on passion. You know, we're still a lot of people in the studio. I've been working on Payday as a franchise for almost 12 years myself, and we are still a bunch of people in the studio that have been, dedicated to Payday for a very, very long time. So having Payday 2 out for such a long time, it just felt very natural for us to let's continue. Let's start something new. We think we had enough cool ideas to really try to evolve franchise into something else. So it's all about passion, you know. We love this game. We're also seeing, we started seeing from a community perspective that a lot of people wanted to see new things. And, at some point you get to a stage with Payday 2 where it's starting to become this sort of content treadmill. But with Payday 3, we've seen an opportunity to really like flesh out the experience more and take it to a new level.
Content is a good keyword. Are there any plans on any future DLCs for Payday 2? Or are you saying, okay, we are releasing Payday 3 now and starting all over again and won't continue on working for people who own Payday 2? Is there any plans, or did you say we are make a fresh cut?
So we're making a fresh cut. So we've released the final heist in Payday 2 now, and now our efforts will go into Payday 3. And we're really just hoping that players will see, an opportunity to make that transition. We understand the, potential concern of okay, but I have 88 heists in Payday 2. Why the hell am I going to go over to Payday 3 now? But I think we've managed to improve the core experience and really flesh out the game and make sure that we get even closer to what the heist fantasy is about. That it's a leap on a level, at least from a fan point of view, that we're hoping is strong enough for people to want to transition over. And I think we're seeing that now. Like the initial responses from the beta and even here at Gamescom has been really positive so far.
I definitely can agree to that. It really feels good. So let's talk about Payday 3. There might be some of our viewers which never played any Payday game. Let's start with the basic. What is Payday about?
Payday is about heisting with your friends. That's the core fantasy. Anything from, if we take Payday 2 as an example, banks, jewelry stores, you're cooking meth in the woods, it's just that criminal fantasy. And that's what we're doing for Payday 3 as well. The core fantasy is what makes this game great, right? So everything that we've developed for Payday 3, we're always thinking from that perspective. How can we create more features that really feeds into what the core fantasy is about?
Speaking of features, are there any any features which were in Payday 2 or Payday 1 which you removed for Payday 3? What did you guys implement for new features?
There's been a lot of changes. It's difficult to outline very specific ones, because if you look at Payday 2 today, it's a huge game. I mean, it's 10 years of content, so the amount of mechanics and features, it's insane. So obviously we've trimmed down that. It's not the same amount of stuff in Payday 3, right? But it's more focused, and it's more focused on what heisting is about. So one of my favorite new broader mechanics is hostage management. So in Payday 2 you can tie civilians, but they're also very static. They don't serve a very good purpose. In Payday 3 you can grab them as a human shield. You can trade them with the police to buy more time. You can also trade them in between assaults to get resources. You use them for objectives, like throwing them into a retina scanner to get access to the vault and such. So there are a lot of new features that, again, just feeds into what the heist fantasy is about. And I think that's the most exciting ones, at least from my point of view.
Speaking of core elements, what is inside this game? You said you can also prepare yourself before going into heist. Speaking about loadouts, which options do I have? Are there any classes, weapon classes, specialist classes, like a healer or someone who's picking up ammunition for the rest of the guys?
Yes, absolutely. So first and foremost, you have your equipment, right? So you have primary weapons and secondary weapons, and you have weapon families that I think most people are familiar with, like shotguns, snipers, assault rifles, SMGs, pistols, and so on, right? Then we also have a new concept of weapon, which we call overkill weapons. These are like over-the-top power fantasy weapons. So one example is a grenade launcher. What happens when you play the game is when you progress in the heist and when you kill enemies, you're going to fill up a bar. So it's essentially an ulti ability, right? So then you call in your gun, it has limited ammo, but then you can turn the tide for a limited amount of time. It's essentially like the star in Super Mario, you know? Then you have deployables and tools that are either combat-oriented or stealth-oriented equipment, such as micro cameras that you can place on any surface, including NPCs and such. I think most depth lies in our skill trees. So the big difference between Payday 2 and Payday 3 here is that in Payday 2, each skill tree has a very particular role. In Payday 3, we have more than 100 skills at launch. They all have their fantasy and role, but not to the same extent. But the difference here is that you have a lot more flexibility. So when you unlock a skill tree, you can mix and match between any skill tree that is available. So it gives players a lot of opportunities to really, create and tailor their character based on their preferred playstyle. So I think we're gonna see a lot of like discussions and min-maxing and like, okay, I picked this one here combined with this one. So, and one of the purposes with that is to make sure that players feel that their character is more unique than in Payday 2 from a gameplay point of view, right?
So you're giving the players more freedom to pick and choose their weapons.
Exactly.
The next question would be a further question to this ultimate weapon. Is it like in other games you have like you use your ability or you use your ultimate and there's a countdown timer. After that countdown timer expires, you're gonna lose your ultimate. You also, in some games, you have the option to switch back to your primary weapon or your secondary. If you do that, do you lose your ultimate weapon, or can you switch back and forth whenever you want?
You can switch back and forth. So essentially, when the bar fills up, you call it in. A helicopter will arrive, drop it somewhere pretty close to you. Then you can pick it up. You can drop it at any point. It will just lay there on the ground. Anyone can pick it up from your team. And the reason for that is, it's a co-op game in its nature, right? So if you're down, you drop your grenade launcher, your friend can pick it up and so on. There is no time limit to it, but it has limited ammo and you can't refill that ammo. So once the ammo is depleted, you drop it and then you equip your primary or secondary again. But you can refill the bar by progressing through the heist and killing more enemies. So you can call it in again and again.
One of the core features in Payday is there are two different approaches which you can do. You can either decide to go inside stealthy, or you can just go in and shoot everything which has two legs and moves. The difference between Payday 3 and Payday 2 is you made it a little bit easier to go stealthy. What is it about?
So it's not necessarily easier. It's more about making it a little bit more forgiving. And we essentially want to make sure that if you fail, you understand why, and hopefully it feels like it's your fault and not the game's fault. So the big difference here is, in Payday 2, you have stealth and you have loud. And the transition there in between is very binary. Like a very small mistake and you're instantly loud. In Payday 3, we have additional phases in between. And also in stealth, if you get detected by a guard in a restricted area, for example, or if a guard sees a broken camera or a broken window, something that looks suspicious or illegal, they're going to escort you out of the building, they're going to give you a warning. And if they actually find you with a gun or doing something that you absolutely shouldn't do, instead of going instantly into loud, you're going to enter something that is called negotiation. So first responders will arrive to the scene. You will have a timer, and then you can start trading civilians with the police to buy more time before the assault kicks in. So there's a bigger window of opportunity, and the phases in between are also fleshed out to make sure that, because Payday 2 is, you have stealth, and loud is very like heat oriented. But I think something that we didn't manage to capture in Payday 2 is that feeling in between that you're seeing a lot in heist movies. Like when they have all the civilians, when there is crowd control, the police is outside, they're shouting at you, you know. That sort of fantasy, I think we managed to capture that very well in Payday 3 as well.
If someone played Payday 2 and now take a look inside Payday 3, they definitely see a graphics update. I'm wondering, did you also upgrade it to a new engine to create Payday 3, or did you stick to the one you had before?
It's a new engine. So Payday 1 and Payday 2 was developed in our in-house engine, Diesel, and now we're moving over to Unreal 4. That's what we're launching with. But we've also committed to transitioning to Unreal 5 during post-launch. But that felt like a very natural thing to do for us, since it has been 10 years apart, and you know we wanted to evolve the game on so many levels, including the visuals. So Unreal 4 just felt like it just felt very natural for us. Yeah.
All right. Do you already have any plans for upcoming DLCs, or do you have a plan, like a 10-year plan, like with Payday 2, to give people new content, or don't you have planned that far away from now?
Like post-launch is a big part of Payday as a franchise, and not just from a content perspective. Yes, we are going to do things post-launch. We haven't communicated anything yet in terms of like what it's going to be, but we're going to do that fairly soon. What I can say is one important thing for us is that it doesn't turn into this constant content treadmill. It's also about growing the product and adding features that we believe are interesting. We also work together with our community to see where their expectations potentially aren't met and what they want to see more of. So again, it's not just about adding new stuff like weapons, characters. It's looking at the core experience and see what type of components can we add here to make it more interesting over time.
And how long did it took you to create Payday 3?
I'm not sure what we can say here. Eva is just doing this.
All right.
So my response is I have no fucking idea. I don't remember. I've been working on it since it started. It's been quite a journey, but I can't recall for how long, man.
That's no problem. One final question. One thing which is also new in the game, you got some sort of level progression, but not only for the character. What can you tell us about that?
So you essentially have two separate tracks for experience. One is called Infamy, and Infamy is your level. By completing challenges in the game, you level up your character. For the first 50 levels out of 150 at launch, you're going to have to play just casually and you're going to level up your character. But once you pass that level 50-ish grade, then you're going to have to be way more conscious in terms of what challenges you're completing. They're going to be more challenging. You're probably going to have to work with your friends to complete some of them. And then the second experience track is tied to your weapons and your skills. And that's pure XP. So let's start with weapons. When you play with your gun, you level up that gun. When the gun is leveled up, you unlock new mods, you purchase them, and so on. For skills, you apply research marker to a skill. When you play with that research marker applied, you're going to pour XP into the base skill, and then it's going to be unlocked. So that's essentially how you unlock your skill trees. And then
so you can just focus on one skill at one time?
Yes, exactly. So you focus on that one, but once you've unlocked it, you can equip it, and then the more you play with it, the further you will get in that skill line, right? But as soon as you have unlocked the skill lines, again, you can mix and match max them as you wish.
All right. I'm looking forward for the release. Can't wait to play it, and I wish you a nice gamescom.
Thank you so much.